Hey all you happy lost souls. Thank you all for checking my channel out. Subscriptions keep climbing. Uh, Views keep climbing. Please, I'm very busy. I don't get back to people that often. I do here and there. Please forgive me. Maybe someday when I have more hands helping the project, we can get back to people quicker. Um, this is completely unfunded as of right now. Going to work on certain things like grant proposals and things like that. Hopefully, post pandemic, with things starting to go, we can get a little more attention. But anyways, this main focus of this video, since I am extremely ADHD and I am all over the place. Recent video we talked about the crazy news source site and these series of mines or quarry sites. That are really taking advantage of the unique geology of the Pennypack, where and the Wissahickon for that matter. You see a lot of this in the Wissahickon because again, you have this fault line where these plates are coming together, and the creek cutting down has exposed these areas where the mantle becomes pushed up, and you get these swirling granites and from extreme heat and pressure, and that's why there's tons of garnet and sapphire and rubitite and jadeite in the Pennypack, and it's these extreme pressures and heats, and then because you got all the quartz and the soapstone and these crazy limestones with these druzy quartz and stuff running through it, and you get all these silvers and different types of metals mixed in with this granite-looking material, these artifacts. But really, one of the most important things, and I didn't pay enough attention to it, the magnetite hammer, yes, beautiful, found at the same quarry site that I recently talked about, as this is split in half by that baseball field, as I mentioned before. So we have a clear understanding of magnetism and its properties. And a previous video when I held out the detector, which is on the phone I'm currently filming with, so I can't do two things at once there. But the magnetivity increased at this crease towards this point. And it's the same thing with all of these. Even though we got like this bird shape, it comes to a distinct point. Same thing with this piece, it comes to a distinct point, and it was worked that way. Well, we find these other little high in iron ore, tin, or nickel, like interacts with this. And what you have, if you have something light, something heavier that's magnetic, and you take a float, you put it in water essentially, and you wait for that pointer to spin, and it's eventually going to point north and south. You just have to know one of the two directions, and you can figure out all the other ones. There's somebody before the ancient Greeks, somebody in Proto-Mesoamerica, somebody responsible for these quarries. And maybe the Olmecs stretched way further. We see this weird head-like worship going on there. The Olmecs were really into that. So we have to ask ourselves, who was looking for metal, making crazy hammers, venerating the sites where they're taking the material. You're seeing tools mixed in, not just hammers and picks, but plows and hoes and things like for clearing fields and clearing wood, like primitive axes and hatchets. So are we seeing this beginning transition to the farming? Are the weird, strange high hills that sit behind the Upper Moreland High School, are they really entirely man-made? Because I believe those high ground sites where the school sits and a couple other sites I believe were habitation sites. Now what this means is we can kind of date it a bit. We can say when it wasn't, because in the entire historical archive for this whole area along the Pennypack, as long as man was writing things down in this area, European contact, we're talking all the way back 500, like 1500s. You get some things. Yet there were tribes that moved through the area, and they were described, and the descriptions matched the Susquehannock. tall, athletic, and hairless, and all their other descriptions, and also they're named as that. Also called the Minzwa, the Wyandotte, the Minskwa, the Minze, the Minzi, the Andasti by the French and the Dutch, which means giant of the hills. But this people, this is way older than that people. Thousands and thousands of years older, and thinking around 6,000, 5,000 years ago. You're seeing this stuff, and you're seeing the beginning of metalworking, clearing fields. You get this side profile of animal worship still, so you're coming out of that Neolithic, but you're seeing the transition, and you're getting a lot of veneration of the site. And what I think happens is, when the most ancient culture that you understand and you're coming across one of their sacred sites, a lot of people carry it on, and they'll, if ancient people were leaving important things in these crossing sites, then the next people that use that site would venerate it the same way, and that's just how things went. We see that in ancient Europe, Stone Age sites as well. I see a lot of similarity, whether they're both worshiping the same thing, because they're both nature-based belief systems. I mean, that's what they're hunter and gatherers. Maybe they just have parallel evolution, or maybe there was contact. Maybe there was, obviously, we can call this Stone Age compass found in PA. Because these are the two parts. Like, that's the purpose of all these little magnetite pointers. And they knew enough about magnetivity that creating a point and a direction intensifies the magnetivity. This is straight magnetite. And some of these tools have a lot of magnetite running in them, and silvers, and even palladiums, and things that make up metals, really hard metals, like that are used in tool making, like chromiums, and a lot of these are made out of different elements combining, so they're really alloys. They don't really exist in nature other than different minerals. But the stuff we see back here is because of this unique geology. Whereas like the artifacts on this tray back here are all from the Neshaminy, and you get this very straight, high-grade mudstone, basalt. You're getting closer to the coast, and that basalt shelf from the Atlantic. So in the Wissahickon and Pennypack, you get a lot of stuff like this, all different unique types of schists, which are compressed micas, but then they'll have all different minerals in them from the heats. The Wissahickon schist, which is like this giant hammer down here, that's very unique to Wissahickon. But these artifacts were found at both quarry sites, one way further down at Larmer, which I call the Salutrian quarries of Pennsylvania, and the other at these other sites that are literally 3 minutes from my house. I feel terrible for never checking out that deposit behind the baseball field, because it's visible from like every road. It's on public land. It actually sits right off of where all the compost is, and gets flooded out a lot. But the deposit is massive back there and spans tons of archaeology, even more modern stuff, like I said. Other people were back there. The colonial people were back there harvesting a lot of this stone because it makes great building material for houses. A lot of the stone houses are constructed out of this schist material. It's very easy to cut. You can cut it in both directions. It's strong in both directions. Withstands heat very well. Great building material. A lot of even trusses and bridges are constructed with it in the area if you look closely. Churches, all that stuff. They're all different micas, different feldspars, things like that. But like I said, the Pennypack is so unique, and it's very overlooked. It's not explored as much. It's not geologically as fascinating as some of the crazy cliffs and canyons and waterfalls of the Wissahickon Valley Green, but if you know where to look, there's some amazing cliffs and caves all through the Pennypack, especially down the Larmer Park area. Um, Me personally, I've been local to the area. The Pennypack is like my backyard. I've explored it from the source in Warminster pretty much all the way to Philly, except for some of the parts they call forbidden areas that are just don't go in there because it's full of quicksand, swamp, snake. Probably find some really cool things. Oh, you gotta be careful. There's massive population of alligator snappers, and some of them are over 100 pounds, and they'll bite your arm off. So they'll stay out of your way. You can see them. Usually, if you're walking in the water, they're massive. I've hooked one a few times and had to get it on shore and you try to get the hook out. And you just kind of cut it because it doesn't really bother them. It's covered in like hooks and lures. And I mean, some of these turtles are over 200 years old, but you see turtle worship going on in a lot of the artifacts. I'll have to pull some of the turtle heads out that are also tools. But again, this is a piece like this, pure magnetite with this heavy tin pointer. Got pointers too often made of iron. I gotta find one. There was one over here. I found one recently at the same site that was really good. Here's one. This is right here. You can see how this is pointed and shaped, like a little wedge almost. This is straight like hematite or hematite rich clay, so it's straight up iron. And you match this up with something like this here, you have a perfect pointer that's gonna help, point in whatever direction you need it to point. Obviously, they understood magnetism as a form of navigation, which is extremely advanced. I can't tell you how advanced that is. It also means they knew that the world was round, or a sphere, spherical, elliptical. They they understood the Earth rotated. They understood north, south, east, west. They understood planting then. They understood seasons. They understood time just by knowing this as a navigational tool. I can't identify the culture that made it, but I believe it is ancient Meso, like not even Mayan, maybe Proto-Mayan. Like the other understanding, we see one other magnetite worked tool recovered out of like a mound site at Poverty Point, Mississippi, and we see lodestones that are the understanding of magnetism in the lodestones in the Olmec culture, and then the Mayans that proceeded afterwards. And although their religions and beliefs are overlapping, and the people are as well, they're different, very different, time period. Could this all just be Gahota, or like the early predecessing, that first wave that was quarrying all the good stone, and after a lot of the tin, or was there trade going on with someone at the time that understood and needed tin and ore and was trading with the natives in order, for them to attain other goods that they were after? Was there a trade network? We know there's a trade network in the 1500s in America, even the 1300s possibly. We know that with the Vikings anyway, and we know that we're in contact with the Skraelings, or the Inuit as Eskimo people, and they actually had very good relations, and they were trading partners for hundreds and hundreds of years in North America, like in Canada and Newfoundland. But it's a story for a different day. I have all kinds of, in my playlists, anything I see that I think is kind of similar, goes and explores a different area, I kind of throw it up on there, try to connect things together. But again, this is what we call like a Stone Age compass. And if it's older than the Greeks' knowledge and understanding of magnetism, which is probably gained from an older culture like the Phoenicians or Sumerians or whatever, but the Greeks understood magnetism, but This is a profound understanding of magnetism and how shaping it intensifies it, and and they're usually like venerated as a bird. This is a giant head, like this is a really big piece, but this distinct crease amplifies the magnetivity. You put something like this over top of that, it's going to pick up the direction. And this line could also delineate it something I'm not sure of, like on the horizon, or they were way more advanced in that area than me. I have a cell phone with GPS and all that, but in ancient times, this would have been seen as magical and amazing. And again, that these pieces are left at these sites. And a lot of it seems as though they're giving back to a site where they've taken a lot of material from, and they want to thank whatever god that is, the god of the stone and the earth and the rock. And we also we know that the Mayans and the Olmec, they worship the underworld essentially. A lot of ancient cultures, the Egyptians, and you know, in the cenotes and in those flooded out limestone caverns and stuff in South America and Florida, they find continuous sacrificial sites, sites where offerings were left, things of that nature. And it seems that this same belief carries deeply through that whole time period, whether it be people on the other side of the world or in the very, very misunderstood and unresearched ancient America. And that's the thing, folks. Like, there's been such a suppression and such a lack of gusto in American, particularly North American archaeology, where we kind of just said, oh, we dug around a little bit, this is what we found, this is the oldest thing, no one can contest this, this is it. And then they want to hide and suppress everything else that contradicts that. And a lot of it comes down to this fear of claim, of land claim still, this buried fear that if we say there is some ancient Egyptian site found in the Grand Canyon, for instance, or that the Egyptians, South American cultures, and the Mesoamerican cultures were all linked to this greater culture in ancient times, that we just forget because of a catastrophic thing interrupted everything. We had to reboot, and most all the stuff we're finding is just after the reboot because it was so absolutely destroyed. Like maybe these beaker people, or these people that spread metallurgy around the world, maybe they came from a sunken place called Atlantis. That was in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, which is why those people were named the Atlanteans. Not all of them went down. They were a seafaring culture, apparently, with advanced technology, so they knew how to sail, especially if they were trading with people all the way down into the Mediterranean, and the story got all the way over there, and we're beginning to find out through evidence that it could have been on the I forget the name, Asiordac Plain, or whatever, the Mid-Atlantic Plain that sunk probably 13,000 years ago, maybe longer, the end of the last ice age, who knows, when all the water melted out of the ice sheets, flooded into the Atlantic, and made the plate too heavy to sustain, and it slipped under another, just sunk, literally sunk, just like the story says. The story is pretty black and white. Everyone wants to try to say it's not detailed, but it's pretty damn detailed. Anyways, guys, these magnetite artifacts with these metal, iron, tin type pointers that would create paramagnetism or a polar magnetism, and give you a primitive compass. And there's no doubt in my mind that that's what these little instruments were for, some sort of navigation and or detection. And they're also, like I said before, the magnetite, they find a lot of it in New York. But when I found this other quarry site, there's a ton of it just right here. It is Very complicated because of the amount of stone and mineral that really shouldn't be here in a stream in southeastern Pennsylvania that is, because of the unique geology. So a lot of these artifacts were like, did they come from somewhere else and they were left here? Because the materials in here, well, like every material's there, so it's very hard to tell that too. You kind of got to go by what material were they using and what layer and what style to try to match up the different time periods and different types of people that were inhabiting. Of course, artifacts started getting a lot smaller. You can see in the case, these is like really fine points, like a Dalton type point down there. You got all different styles of points. A tiny miniature stem type point. It's almost getting into the like out of the neo into the meso, where you get these tinier points. So yeah, but you can see like all the little garnets in this crazy material popping up. These are all tiny little pieces of garnet. They're very hard to see because they're so tiny. There's some bigger ones over in this stuff. See right here, see all the garnet. It's garnet right there, right there. It's a really nice one there. That could probably be faceted and polished, that piece. Here. It tells you that in the place where this material is being harvested and utilized from, the mantle of the earth was pushed upwards and exposed, and they had access to it. This came from the Slutrian site. These are various pressure flaking tools for napping. And you have these very European looking style celts or heads. This is more of a woodworking tool here, like an adze. This is not really, it's very thin. It's got a ton of artifact patina on it. Again, I don't even really know the material because of the amount of patina. But obviously, very hard. It's hardened. And again, a ton of patina on this one. And this looks more like it was for just thrown. And it almost looks Franciscan, like a Franciscan or a Viking type style axe head, which is very odd. And you see these much older ones at the same site being left and venerated and polished and smoothed, which look more Neolithic, into like early Meso. But who knows? Like I said, anyways, Stone Age magnet, found in PA. Love you all. Please subscribe, stay safe, be a happy lost soul. Spread the word and share your thoughts and videos and have fun out there discovering stuff.